talk about import trade, all of us have an idea of what is really import, right? And maybe you have some vague idea regarding the purpose for which we import, or India as a country engage in importing various goods and services. Okay. But still, just to have an introduction to the scenario for our topics under discussion, imports are when you bring in, when you take, when you buy goods or services from a different country. Maybe we are not permitted to import anything what we want, but we can import only those which are permitted through license by the government of that specific country. In India, the government permitted goods, but still if we are going with an import, we have to get a license for that. So this is the scenario. And basically, when we look into the need for import as a nation, one is, see, now when India is looking into going with a lot of development in the manufacturing sector, we can see that a lot of heavy machinery, which is little costly to manufacture here, or maybe we don't have that competitive edge of manufacturing such heavy machines here in this at the initial stage. We start importing a lot of such machinery for promoting, as we call the industrialization, or for promoting heavy industries in our country. So that is one area where we go with importing of different machineries, equipments. Health sector is going with importing of a lot of equipments. So all these are just to promote the type of business that is happening within the country. So maybe industrialization, or maybe to go with better quality of redundancy in health sector. That's why we go with importing a lot of machinery, equipments and all, lot of equipments which are needed for high-end specialized treatments and all. So that's where we talk about this development, overall development, aiming at long term. It's a strategic decision. Second one is consumer demand. The easiest one to understand in that category is oil. Right. So normally India as a country go with importing oil resources, because we don't have such, or what we have is not enough for going with the further requirement of consumers within the country. So that's where we go with importing to meet the consumer demand and improve the standard of living. We can see that that's very much evident in different sectors like consumer durable sectors, textile, cosmetic. Earlier we used to get only in Indian brands, but if we want now, we can get any foreign brands, say in the case of textile or in the case of cosmetics, either through online purchase or through showrooms. So that is just by opening up the market, allowing people to import and trade in such items, so that can be literally going with the improvement in the standard of living. Because when there is a competition coming up, like when it is coming up from international market, and if a comparison is made by the consumer between the Indian products and the foreign products, and if they find that it's quality wise, if they are getting a better quality in, or if they're finding a better quality in foreign products, naturally there is an affinity towards those products. So that's a competition to Indian markets. Indian manufacturers also would be trying to improve their quality to compete with these foreign players. So indirectly, that is going with the upgradation of the quality of products available in Indian markets. So that again is another reason for going for import of goods. And of course, when we have some kind of natural calamity, like famine is a good example, or flood, or maybe some volcanic eruptions, or maybe some kind of natural calamity where our industries are not functioning as expected, or we are not in a position to go with the production or the various trade activities. automatically government will take the initiative to import it from different. See, like lately, maybe 1 year before, we had severe problem with the availability of onions, right? And we know that how extensively onions are used for cooking, right? So automatically, where government of India went with importing, the price of the onions went up to a level where you had to pay 150 per kg. So government of India took initiative, started temporarily importing onions from different localities, onions, tomatoes from different localities, because we had a severe setback in our farm produce due to unexpected climatic variation. So that was the main reason where the farmers were not able to produce as they expected because of this climatic variation. So the availability went down. And when the availability went down, there came a lot of black marketing also. So this all aggravated the price of onions in Indian market. So the government took initiative to import and thereby bringing down the price, stabilizing the price. And now the situation came to normal condition. And then, yes, of course, in the defense wing, we know that a lot of our, as we say, Israel, we buy a lot of equipments, defense equipments from different nations across the globe. We actually go with purchasing from different locations across the globe for going with the defense protection or national defense, like with the case of Army or Navy or maybe Air Force. All these equipments, a lot of equipments, including the vessels, like air vessels or water vessels being made, or parts being made, bought from them and assembled here. So all that is another area where we go with a lot of imports. So the objectives basically is related to the need of a particular country. So what India needs, that would every now and then, it's not very frequent, but every on a regular interval, we go with revision of the import policy document of the country, and we go with revision with respect to the list of products included under the origin list, that is the original list of goods which can be imported to country in normal license, and also by having specialized licensing. So that's where we talk about the competitive advantage. We are going to learn about the theory of competitive advantage at after 1 or 2 classes. But here, the basic principle guiding import of a country should be the theory of competitive advantage, because a country should be looking at the areas where it has a competitive edge, and such areas should be reserved for creating more exports. And if a country is having a competitive disadvantage in some of the areas, those areas should be identified and focused for importing. So that will create a balance of payment within the economy. So with this, we are just looking into the process what is involved in import of goods to the country. So I have put 10 stages. I have summarized that into 10 stages for you to remember it quickly. Okay. So stage 1 is obtaining an import license. That we said in the case of export also. Here also, the first one is obtaining an import license, and it's very important that you have to mention. So suppose it is coming under the open general list, automatically you can go with open general license. You don't need any specialized license. It's already allowed permitted product, so you can go with just obtaining a normal license. But if it is not coming in the open general list, automatically you have to go with any of these category depending upon the kind of goods, like replenishment license or supplementary license or special license, as case additional license, which is needed to be obtained if you go for importing. So that's the first stage. And then you have to apply to the licensing authority appointed by Government of India. And when we are making appointment, primarily we have to go with submission of primary three documents. One is treasury receipt, payment of necessary license fee, and obtaining the treasury receipts. Two is income tax clearance, verification certificate, whether you've gone with all payments, tax payments in the previous segments. And if you are an importer with some track record, previous track record, you have to go with the certificate of value of goods which you have imported during the previous period. So these three documents are the primary documents that needs to be submitted when we go with applying for import license. And of course, we said that the license can happen in generally in four categories. One is open general license, which applies to all permitted goods in the list. And the second one, if you go with specialized goods which require some kind of additional verification, then we go with either replenishment or, as you know, supplementary license, or maybe with additional license which you need. It varies from time to time depending upon the policy taken by the central government and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay. And then that's the first stage, application of import license. Second one is, as again, these stages are repetitive ones, but I'm just specifying with the document requirements, since we are talking from the perspective of our country, India. So we know exactly what are the documents that are required when you go with the import process. So the second is you go with a trade inquiry and receiving quotation from different parties who are willing to export goods to you as a trader, or to our country, or whose country is having good trade relationship with our country. So that is also mandatory. Suppose if a country does not have a trade agreement with India, then automatically we cannot go with importing products from such countries. So that again needs to be verified, permission needs to be obtained. So quotation, inviting the quotation, and the quotation normally will contain the following aspects. One is specification of the goods, if it is physical good, okay. Then the size, the quality, the design, all that detailed specification would be given. Then the quantity of goods available, how much they can supply to us, what at what duration, and what is the level of supply, and of course the price, what is the price applicable per unit, if it is in unit, or if it is in kg per kg, or quintal per quintal, or per ton, it applies as the case may be. And then terms of shipment, it's actually which is related with how the exporter is planning to meet the expenses, like free on board. FOB is free on board. It talks about whether the exporter would take care of the protection of the goods till it is delivered to the ship, whether all the expenses will be FOB, is that it will be taken care by the exporter till it is lodged into the vessel. Carry and freight expenses means it is our terms and conditions where the exporter will be, in general case, it will mention whether they will take care of C&F expenses, carry and freight expenses, or should it be borne by the importer. In general case, that will be met by the exporter in their country, and maybe see carry and freight in the country of import, or the country to which the product being imported might have to be met by the importer himself. CIF is nothing but carriage, insurance, and freight. Carriage charges, insurance charges, and freight charges, right? So that again is another CIF is again another condition, whether the exporter would be taking up the insurance policy for the protection of the goods when it is in vessel or during the transit, or should it be borne by the importer. So all these terms will be mentioned in terms of shipment. Sometimes the logistic company also would be taking care of this insurance aspect, but that will be mentioned in terms of shipment. Terms of payment, letter of credit, whether letter of credit is actually a guarantee given by a banker, acting on behalf of the importer. Suppose if you are a very small importer, or maybe very new to the importing business, you do not have much reachability in a foreign market. Automatically, what happens here is you require a surety from a bank, a financial institution, where the bank promises to make payment on behalf of you after the supply of product. For that, you have to deposit money and all. Definitely, that has to be done. But letter of credit will be issued by the bank, just ensuring the payment from the part of import. So that's what, whether payment is done through letter of payment, or whether it is no demand payment, bill of exchange. These two, DP and DA, is related with bill of exchange. Whether no, so that is two type. When the product is received, payment immediately made, or maybe when bill of exchange is issued, acceptance is given. That's what DA, D bar A, and D bar P is payment made immediately. Bill, when it is given, you make the payment. Or if it's the case that when bill being given, you accept it, and then maybe within a time of like 3 months or 6 months, you make the payment. So that's what terms of payment. And delivery schedule. When are you planning to deliver it? How is it in one lot, or maybe in 2 or 3 shipment? So all these that will be mentioned in your quotation. Okay, or perform when an invoice being given, perform invoice or quotation being given to you, that will be the stage 2 of your import process. Stage 3, of course, you have to obtain license. We know that foreign exchange or imports and exports come under Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA. So definitely you have to apply to the prescribed authority, Exchange Control Department, directly under Reserve Bank of India, and get the approval, obtain the approval. Normally there would be no, see, in the practical scenario, what happens here is there would be agents who would be doing all these for the importers. But this is the third stage where you have to obtain the permission from Exchange Control Department of Reserve Bank of India regarding the foreign exchange. How, in which terms, all the terms, conditions needs to be filed with them, and you need to get the approval from them. Right? So that's a stage 3. So obtain, say, stage 1, application for import license. Stage 2, where we talk about inviting quotation. Stage 3, suppose that happens when we go with acceptance of a particular quotation. When we get acceptance, what we go with is, we will proceed with a particular, we'll select a particular trader, an exporter. We'll proceed with the further stage, which is obtaining the permission from the Exchange Control Department, right? And stage 4 is placing an indent order. Indent is nothing but order placed by the importer. Now there are 2 modes of placing this import. The importer can directly place it with the exporter, or there would be, say, in most of the developed countries, you would be doing that through indent houses. There would be an indent house, and the exporter would be submitting the application to the indent house, and the order will be further processed. Indent house may be in the national or in the international boundary, and further processing will be done. Going from there, taking up from there. Sometimes if it is if the trader is having good relationship with the exporter, maybe directly the order will be placed and the necessary action will be taken from their end in their country. So that is placing the order. That's the 4th stage. So stage 1, application for import license. Stage 2, where you put the quotation. Stage 3, you obtain the permission. Stage 4, placing an order, or as we call indent. Then opening letter of credit. Sometimes this is not needed. Letter of credit is not needed. Suppose if you are a big corporation being engaged in export trade. Otherwise, if you are a small importer, or if you are very new, or if you do not have some kind of track record, of course, the other party, the exporter, would be asking for letter of credit. So it's nothing but the banker of the importer will be issuing letter of credit, ensuring or promising to make the payment in favor of exporter after the goods being delivered. Right? That's actually letter of credit, the same as a document we have learned it earlier also. So that's the next thing, stage 5. So again, stage 1, application, right, for license. Stage 2, where we go with as we call obtaining the order, the quotation. Stage 3, we go with permission. Stage 4, we go with the documents, as we call, no, the indent, placing an indent. And stage 5 we go with obtaining letter of credit. Stage 6 is receiving shipping documents. See, this is with respect to the shipping documents is given to the importer at the time when the goods are placed in the vessel. Maybe if it is air cargo in the flight, or if it is ship cargo in the ship, and the document will be endorsed by the captain of the ship. After receiving, it will be given to the exporter. The captain of the ship will be issuing these documents to the exporter, and the exporter will be transferring this to the importer, that is receiving the shipping documents. So the shipping documents will be given to the importer once it is received by the exporter from the captain. So that's a proof that goods have been it's been imported, or goods being placed in the vessel for transit to the country for where to which it is import, in our case to India. So those documents will be given by the maid or captain of the ship to the exporter. Exporter, once he gets it, he will be giving the shipping documents to the importer as a proof for the for placing the product in the vessel, right? So that is stage 6. So stage 1 application, I'm just ensuring that you learn it by the time we finish it. Stage 1 application for import license. Stage 2 quotation. Stage 3 obtaining the permission. Stage 4 you place the order, the order being placed. And stage 5 letter of credit. Stage 6 we talked about the shipping documents. Now things are very easy. Stage 7, see, clearing agents. Clearing agents, it's not mandatory that always an importer has to go with this clearing agent, but generally all the importers go with appointing a clearing agent. He's an agent who does all the services till the goods are being handed over to the importer, like all clearing all the documents, getting permission, paying necessary dock fee, other carriage fee, taking up the necessary insurance policy if it is needed. Finally, the goods being delivered to the importer. So these are agents who act on behalf of the importer for getting the goods entrust, or getting it imported from the shipping location, from the dock to the actual physical settlement with the importer. So all those process will be done by the clearing agent if he is appointed. So that is stage 7. And stage 8 talks about the formalities that is to be done if there is a clearing agent. And if there is no clearing agent, all these formalities will have to be performed by the importer. Okay. So clearing agent, what he does normally is getting endorsement for delivery. That is, the endorsement will be given by the shipping agency once they receive the payment, making clear the verification process has to be done, and then the dock fee will be paid by the clearing agent. And bill of entry is something which is being no, which will be given only after getting the customs clearance and paying the duty charges, customs duty, and obtaining the customs clearance, and finally delivery from the dock and dispatching the goods to the importer. So basically all the activities connected with relieving the goods from the dock till the importer, till it reaches the final importer, that will be taken care by the clearing agent. So clearing agent has to take about customs clearance, dock payments, and he will also have to look at with the clearance from the shipping company, and then the delivery, freight and insurance if required, such activity. And then finally it is to be delivered to the importer. And so that is stage 9, taking delivery of goods from the railway, from the carrier. If it is inland, it should be railway, or if it is international, it would be carrier, right? So that's why we say that it would be from the carrier to the importer. And the last stage is making payment. As we said, making payment can be in different way, right? In export also we learn that. One is if it is letter of credit, automatically the payment will be done by using a letter of credit instrument itself, where the banker transfers the money. The second one is document against payment, bill of exchange, where when the importer gets the shipping document on making payment of bill of exchange, payment on the spot, you make on the spot when the bill being given to the importer, and all the shipping, the rest ownership documents will be transferred to the importer. Or it can be payment by acceptance, bill being accepted, when the bill being issued by the exporter, it's being accepted by the importer, and importer is given some time for making payment towards the charges, towards the export charges, right? So that is what we call as the document against acceptance on bill of exchange. So DP is payment, DA is acceptance. Payment is immediately done, acceptance is postponing the payment to a future date, right? So both these are done. Or else, as I said, no, as in the case of exports, this can happen over online payments from foreign exchange currency, NRI accounts, or using foreign exchange currency through banks. If you have a direct liaison with the exporter, you may not go with an intermediary, you will make the payment after obtaining the permission directly to the exporter. So these are the 10 stages which is involved in the import process. So it's very easy. Just we will have a quick recap of the first one is we just went with obtaining the import license. Of course, we have to understand that for every procedure which is involved with foreign exchange transaction, the first and foremost thing is either in case of export or import, we have to obtain the license. So here also the license need to be obtained, and with respect to import, it is little more, the government is very vigilant regarding the type of products which are being taken away from this country to another country. So that's why there are different categories of list, and based on the list you have to obtain the license. And once the license being obtained, then naturally you go with quotation, inviting different types of quotations, and based on the quotation you place the of course you have to get the permission from the exchange control department, and then you place the order, which is the fourth stage, placing an inter order, and then opening a letter of credit, which is not mandatory in every case, but it is a definite procedure in large scale operations and all, where the banker stands as an intermediary for ensuring the payment from the part of importer, and then receiving the shipping documents. This is received when the goods are actually transit, or when the goods are lodged into the vessel, and the captain of the ship issues these documents to the exporter. And once the exporter receives this, he will send a scanned copy of it to the importer, indicating that the products are ready for exporting, or the or as you say, there is the physical delivery of the product has happened, of the goods has happened during so and so date, and at such time with this vessel, with this logistic company. So that document will be sent, and then appointing a clearing agent by the importer, because he is actually acting on behalf of the importer for taking care of all the transactions. Sometimes, the product, or as you say, the goods to be delivered may be blocked in one port, which is away from the basic locality where the importer wants the product to be. Sometimes it might be because of some problem with the transportation, it might be blocked in Visakhapatnam port, or maybe in Mumbai port, somewhere in that area. So the clearing agent will take care that the goods are brought at right time to the, if he's from Cochin, it is brought to the Cochin port or wherever to be delivered. So that again it remains as a responsibility for the clearing agent to track the movement of this goods to the place of the importer. So all these will be taken care by the clearing agent. But of course, he does that for a commission. And then the next stage is the actions that will be taken by the clearing agent during the transport of these from the port to the importer. So that will include customs clearance, or as we say, no, payment of dock charges, landing of goods, bill of landing, no, which needs to be verified, and then finally the freight charges will be taken care by him, will be paid, will be met by him, and then it will be delivered to the importer. And the final stage is taking delivery of goods from the railway, no, or maybe from the carrier, from the ship, or if it is ship, it will be from the ship to the vehicle, which will be taking care, or which will be taking the goods to the place of the importer. So that again remains as the responsibility of the clearing agent. And the last stage is payment. The payment, of course, as we said, it can happen in different modes. If letter of credit being used, payment will be done through that channel itself, or bill of exchange, or foreign currency transactions through accounts, or online transfer of money. All these are possible after obtaining the license based on the convenience of both the parties, that is the importers and the exporters. So these are the general process that are involved in the import. And finally, when we just look into all these documents, we had been discussing documents that are used in import trade. The first one is, sometimes this can be asked separately from a university exam point of view. Import license is something which you obtain from the licensing authority of a particular company before going for the further process involving, like inviting quotations, getting a trade agreement, all that you have to obtain the import license. And every importer will be having a unique number also indicating the date of registration, all these things. Then indent is nothing but it's an order of goods that is being made by the importer to the exporter, and that specifies the details of trade, which will be endorsed by both the parties, the importer as well as the exporter, when they come into an agreement. Letter of credit, of course, we know that letter of credit is issued by the banker of the importer to the exporter, or in favor of the exporter, promising to make the payment once the product has been delivered. Documentary bill of exchange, as I said, no, it will be acceptance or payment document. Acceptance means payment postponed to a future date. Payment means on the spot the payment is made by the importer. Bill of entry, we had discussed about bill of entry when you get customs clearance. So it's actually bill of entry is something which is required for you to get customs clearance, where the verification of entire items that are being entered uh, in the vessel, in the packet, will be verified by the customs, and then that document will be given to the importer or the clearing agent for the further procedures. And bill of sight, see, sometimes the importer may not be very sure about what the products being imported, or he want to make sure that he gets the same product as he had ordered. So in that case, bill of sale gives permission for the importer to verify everything before the actual payment is made, to verify the products that's been imported to him before the payment being made. So that is what we call as the bill of sale. So after verification, the importer will make the payment and get in charge of the goods. So that is bill of sale. Porter's dues receipt is nothing but the charges that is associated with the freight, with the handling charges, carrying charges, all that, the fee that is associated with this particular trade deal. And of course, application to import, we know that initially when you go with an import license, that's a document that needs to be submitted. That is, for obtaining the license, you have to apply, you have to submit an application along with the necessary documents. I have already said the necessary documents are the payment, treasury receipts, where you have made the payment, tax clearance, and the details regarding the previous transactions which the importer had, the value of goods, all that, showing the value of goods, all that. So that's what we call about the application to import. Then advice notes is something which is given by the exporter to the importer, specifying that the goods ordered has been dispatched from their port to the port of destination. Bill of lading receipt given by when see that we had been discussing that in case of export also. So the mate or the captain of the ship, once the materials are lodged or when once it is put inside the vessel, the captain will verify with the content, with the quantity, with everything, and then finally he will compare it with the documents supplied by the exporter, verify it, then ensure that yes, the list of these products have been kept in the vessel. So that's actually issued by the captain of the ship or mate of the ship, and it's actually a proof for the exporter, as well as primarily for the exporter, that he has performed his duty of as you say, transferring the product for import into the vessel. Sometimes he will be having the insurance document also protecting, but most of the cases it will be till the product being transferred to the vessel. From there, maybe importer will have to take care of regarding the insurance policy, other expenses and all. Then, of course, insurance policy, as I was just mentioning, insurance policy includes the protection of the goods. Sometimes insurance policy document will be there for the vessel itself. Suppose if something happens, theft happens, or if there is a natural calamity, there can be huge loss that can happen to the importer, or if it is to be taken by the exporter, then to the exporter. So all that will be protected through different insurance policy, like uh, goods in transit policy, or the vessel, the insurance for the vessel as a whole, or for the cargo as a whole. It depends on the parties who take up the insurance policy. These are the final documents that is to be submitted during the process of import trade, either at the beginning or maybe during the process of import trade. So in our today's class, we were discussing about import, the objectives, how or when should or why should a country plan for different types of imports, and the process and the documents that are involved in a import trade. And finally, to conclude, what we have to understand is import is a country specific aspect, and imports happen in relation with the government policy and also the government ideology. Sometimes import of certain products would be totally banned by the government, as we had recent, like ban for Chinese app and all. So that is a government policy. So that will be taken up depending on the internal and as well as the external trade relationship with different nations. So a country is said to have a favorable condition, favorable climate for imports when it is having good trade relationship with the nation. So that's why imports as well as exports requires good trade relationship. And that is why Ministry of Foreign Affairs takes care of entering into different treaties which will protect the interest of both the parties. Like suppose importer is from the national boundary, or if the exporter is from the national boundary, the interest of both these parties needs to be protected, as well as the currency. Foreign exchange is one of the important aspect that will be happening through imports and export. So currency value needs to be protected. The movement of currency against another currency also should be tracked. All these are very crucial aspects for the performance of the economy of a country. So that's why we say that it's actually a strategic decision that is to be taken by government when the decisions are taken about the type of products to be imported and the type of products to be exported from the country. And we are going to learn many terms that talks about dumping, or electronic waste management, or as you say, uh, low competitive, or companies under unfavorable competitive position. All these we are going to discuss in our next few classes. So with this, I stop here.